We got a lot of people in the chat talking about a lot of different stuff. Colts fans they're at it today, and they should be. One of the best teams in the NFL is the Indianapolis Colts, and we'll obviously get into their win against the Chargers. Adam's talking about Jalen Hurts. You guys got to talk about Jalen Hurts. We're going to talk about Hurts in a second. Before we get to that, though, of course, the London game. Let's start and talk about the early Sunday game that we had here between the Los Angeles Rams and the Jacksonville Jaguars. 35-7 was the final score of this one, and it felt more competitive than a 28-point game. I will say that, but there's a lot to dig into here. Let's talk about the top 5 graded players that we had for the Rams to kick us off. Wide receiver Davante Adams. Hell of a day from him. Not a ton of yards, but a lot of impactful plays here from Davante Adams with those 3 touchdowns. 91.3 overall grade. Offensive guard Kevin Dotson right behind him with an 88.0. Offensive guard Steve Avila an 82.7. Linebacker Omar Speights back, healthy, 81.7. And then safety Cam Kinchins rounding us out at number 5 with an 80.6. Matthew Stafford in this one having an incredible season so far, 80.7 overall grade against Jacksonville. On the Jag side of things, offensive guard Ezra Cleveland was their top man with a 75.3. Edge rusher Josh Hines-Allen a 74.5. Offensive tackle Anton Harrison a 73.7. Safety Antonio Johnson a 73.1. Wide receiver Travis Hunter finally got things going in the second half with a 72.7, and then Trevor Lawrence in this game, a 68.7. Stat that told the story, Dalton. What do you got?
Look, the lesson is, even with Puka Nacua out, if you don't disrupt Matthew Stafford in the pocket, and the Jags finished this game with no sacks, they didn't have a single sack in this game. If you don't disrupt Matthew Stafford in the pocket, he's going to tear you apart. That's just the facts of it. In clean pockets in this game, he was pressured 38% of the time, which is a solid rate, not an overwhelming rate, but solid. But when he was clean, 18 to 21, 197 yards, 167 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 big-time throws, threw 2 touchdowns under pressure also. But I think it's, again, just Stafford and Sean McVay, their ability to work around what hasn't been great pass protection this year, but to work around it with the play-action game, with Stafford's quick release. Here and there, he does still roll outside of the pocket and find a big throw, improvising. It's that combination. You went into this game worried about, okay, this Jags secondary, the coverage unit's been so good this season. They don't have their best guy, Puka Nacua. Is Stafford going to be able to overcome it? And he made it look easy. He really did. It just goes to show you the veteran that he is, that if he's protected, he's going to make the throws. And I think you saw that all day, honestly. They just could not get him down even when they got pressure on him. McVay, once again, with the right play calls at the right time. The play-action game was working really well. He completed 14 out of 15 play-action passes. I just think he was in total control. And even if you went into this game worried about them not having Puka Nacua, within about probably a quarter of it, you weren't very worried about it anymore, because Davante Adams did make plays when he needed to. Stafford spreaded the ball around, and the Jags really just had no answer on defense for him.
Man, I was so shocked at how this game ended up playing out. Now, I understand you go down early, right? You're down 14-0 at the end of the first quarter. Rams score another touchdown at one point. You're at 21-0, but to me, the Jags are at their best when they're balanced. And Brandon's even saying in the chat, like, oh, here we go, like the Jags are back to being terrible. I don't think that they're back to being terrible, but they certainly got away with what got them here, if you want to say that, at 4-2 entering this game. And that was Liam Cohen's ability to run the football very effectively. Dalton, they had 10 carries in the first half of this game, despite almost 15 minutes of a time of possession. And obviously in the first half, 2 quarters, 15-15, you're controlling it for half of this game at that point. So I understand that the scoreboard was sort of away from you and you needed to catch up a little bit, but Trevor Lawrence dropped back and threw the football 48 times in this game. He had even more dropbacks, obviously. So dropped back more than 50 times, threw the ball 48 times. It's never going to be a recipe to win football games for you. And I understand that things were a little bit different. That's why I started the conversation saying that they were down on the scoreboard. But you can't have only 10 rushes in the first half, no matter what the scoreboard is, because Trevor Lawrence at this point is not effective. The Jags passing game, I guess I don't mean to throw it all on Lawrence's shoulders. The Jags passing offense is not effective enough right now on a drive-to-drive basis for you to just say, well, we're down 2 scores on the scoreboard, let's throw away the run game and let's just throw the ball as much as we possibly can. You're just not going to win. And the game really started to slow down after that. I'm going to look at the possession chart right here because You have these are the possessions for the Rams in the game. Okay, touchdown, not ideal, obviously. Punt, touchdown. Okay, 3 out of 4 of the first drives that you're defending, they're scoring touchdowns. Being down 21-0, obviously it's not great. And then they had the end of half there from him. But the Rams went punt in the third quarter. 4 straight punts. But Jacksonville wasn't really able to answer those things because I think they already had in their mind, no, we're in end-of-game situation. We just have to pass the football. So they can't abandon their identity of being balanced. And I think Liam Cohen's a fantastic coach. I really do. I just think this was a game plan that got away from him in the moment. And when you look back at how the game was unfolding, if they would have stayed a little bit more true to themselves, we could have very easily had a 21-14, a 21-17 game by the time we got to the fourth quarter. And we just didn't, I think, because they abandoned the run.
I think you're right. I think that game got to 14-0, and it felt like they just threw it all out the window. And do you know, here's one thing I do wonder, because this happened midway through the Chiefs game. Do you know who their highest graded run blocker is by far?
Who? Wait, which team?
The Jaguars.
Is there Cleveland?
No, it's Brenton Strange. And he got hurt. He got hurt. And what's something they were doing, and it was multiple guys. It was Brenton Strange and Johnny Muntz, also a really good blocker, and things like. But I just wondered, because they had been using Brenton Strange in so many different ways as a blocker, and so many multiple tight end sets those first few weeks to run the football well. I do wonder if his absence is really affecting this running game and Liam Cohen's play calling of this running game without him, because he, even right now, qualified tight ends, he's the second best run blocker in the NFL so far this season, despite missing the last couple of games. I do wonder if that's playing a big part, is missing Brenton Strange and not having that 6th guy up there who is actually their most dominant run blocker so far this year, if that's been an issue over the last 2.5 games. Because Travis Etienne's carries have gone way, way down. There was even, you talk about running the football in this game, and it's even a couple Parker Washington jet sweeps, and I think it was Travis Hunter who got a reverse. Like, there's just all of a sudden the cohesive plan of running the football in the last 2.5 to 3 games, it's gone. And I just wonder if that correlates with Brenton Strange being out injured and out for a few more weeks also.
Most impressive and most disappointing for you?
Most impressive for me, Darius Williams on the defensive side for the Rams. 6 targets, 1 catch allowed for 6 yards, 3 forced incompletions, 83.7 coverage grade. They reunited with this guy after he left to go to Jacksonville and then came back to the Rams, and we had questions coming into the year about it. And we talked about this last week. The Rams might not have a superstar at corner, but every week if you get a Darius Williams or a Kobe Durant or a Quentin Lake, somebody just stepping up that week, then your secondary is just going to be fine. And the last one for me on the other side, the secondary for the Jaguars, first 5 weeks of the season through that Chiefs game, they led the league in coverage grade. The last 2 weeks, they've gotten shredded, and they're dead last the last 2 weeks in coverage grade of 30.6. Sam Darnold really teed off on them, even though that was a lower scoring game, 20-12. But Darnold had a great day against them. They had no answer for Jackson Smith and Jigba. And then Matthew Stafford with the 5 touchdowns in this game. Wonder what the adjustments are going to be moving forward, or if they just ran into 2 raging hot quarterbacks and they'll get back on the horse. But you don't want that to become a trend also, because that was really the most improved part of this team was the secondary.
Yeah, my most impressive is just, honestly, it's the Rams overall. Like, how you look this dominant without Puka Nacua is just a testament to what the Rams do. I know they shifted into more heavy tight end sets. They want to be a team that gets more tight ends onto the field anyways. They did that in this game. They did it very well. So the Rams are just one of those teams where there's not many in the NFL where you could take away their number one option, and not only do you look great, like just even win the football game. And the Rams are one of those teams to be able to do that. So they're incredibly impressive how diverse they are on the offensive side of the ball, and how much they can adjust to whatever's going on throughout the season. My most disappointing right now is Brian Thomas Jr. He is not the same player that he was last year, and I think a lot of people are waiting for him to be that, and we're 7 games in, and he has not been that same type of player. When you look at the Jags overall, they had 4 drops in this game. They were 13 for 3 in contested catches. Brian Thomas Jr. was over 3 in contested catches, had 2 drops himself. I don't know what's going on with him, but he just does not look as willing or confident to either go over the middle or to pluck the ball out of the air at the catch point. And I remember doing his scouting report when he was coming out of LSU. And the previous 2 seasons when he was at LSU, he had a catchable passes caught percentage of like right around 80, which is not good. I mean, you want for a catchable passes caught percentage, you want that in the 90s, right? I mean, you want it in, realistically, you're not going to catch everything. And so something low 90s, something around 90. When you get to the high 80s, it's like, okay, it could be a little bit better, but anything around the low 90s is really what you want for a catchable passes caught percentage. He was around 80%, so that's much less than what you really want. That last year that he was at LSU, he was finally right around 90. And I remember writing in my scouting report, his best year of catching was just this one lone year that we saw for him as a junior. And you don't want to discredit him for being able to do that, but it is something that you just think about. Last year, same thing. Catchable passes caught percentage, right around 91, right? So you go, okay, now it's fixed, right? He's not going to go back. Now this year, it's 70. So the drop issues, the concentrated catch issues, just the overall catching issues for Brian Thomas Jr., they're rearing their ugly head once again from what we saw from him as a freshman and a sophomore when he was at LSU. And we thought that we had kind of gotten over that, but for whatever reason, he is just not as confident catching the football, like I said, over the middle of the field or in those contested catch situations. And quite frankly, they really need him to. And I think that's why you see the passing offense go cold.
You're right. He already has as many drops this year as he had all of last year, and he's only 6 for 16 in contested situations. It feels to me like there's a rep every week where he shies away from contact. That seems to be the biggest thing, is that those being more comfortable in tight spaces. And the problem is when that happens on a week-to-week basis and you're going full speed and you're trying to fix things on the fly during the season, these things get to be a little bit of muscle memory now too, right? And it gets habitual, and you go, okay, when's the week that we break out of this? Well, it really just takes, you have to get a couple of live reps at, again, just getting used to doing it again, right? And now you're 7 weeks into a season going, this is a concern. If it was just week 1 against Carolina or something like that, or week 2 against Cincinnati, I remember you talked about it back then, you go, all right, that's a week or two, but we're 7 weeks into it now. Mm-hmm. And they really need this guy to be their best offensive player like he was last year.
Anything else before we move on?
Nope, good here.
That's it? All right, okay.